Welcome to Ciao Bella, hosted by me, Erica Firpo, a travel journalist based in Rome. Each episode of Ciao Bella, I sit down with Italy's creators, contemporary artists and artisans, designers, culinary experts, heritage brands, and innovative aesthetes, and more who are defining and redefining 21st century Italy. Pull up a chair and join in. Welcome back. I'm in Milan, and I'm with Giuseppe Rossi, the general manager of one of my favorite Italian brands, and actually one of my favorite things in the world, Pineider, a heritage paper company based out of Florence. Hello, Giuseppe. How are you?
I'm very well, and thank you very much for inviting me to this interview.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to come and see your beautiful press day and your beautiful products. I've always loved Pineider. Ever since I was a child, I am a paper collector, and I should let everybody know that this isn't just any kind of paper. This is incredible, beautiful, handmade paper. I love stationery. The company makes incredible stationery. Sometimes it's colored, lots of sets. And in addition, they make writing utensils. And I would say all the accessories that go with the world of writing and travel. Is that correct?
This is absolutely correct. The long history started over 240 years ago when this gentleman coming from the Alps went down to Florence, and he started his long walk thinking he was an artisan. He was an artisan coming from the mountains. When he joined Florence and he started engraving stones and wood, he realized that he was an artist, not anymore an artisan. And after a few months, he opened his first store where he was embossing papers using the engraved tools that he was engraving by himself. The story started in 1774 only on paper, but after a few decades he started producing leather goods useful for paper, in order to contain paper, in order to hold paper, in order to put leather goods on the desk of notaries or lawyers or doctors and so on. And only in 1885, so was his grandson, started importing from the US the very first fountain pen made by Waterman, by Mr. Waterman. So since 1881 or 85, sorry, Pineider means writing instruments, luxury papers, and leather goods. Leather goods useful and instrumental for people who's working or traveling for work.
Now, Pineider has some of the most important, I think they've had some of the most important and illustrious clients. I've written down a few names. I know there's Maria Callas. I know there's me. I think, I read that Lord Byron had frequented the store, Stendhal, Napoleon. Is that correct?
This is absolutely true. We have still little memories of certain clients from the beginning of the 20th century. We don't have clear, tangible evidence of our lovers or our clients of the 19th century or 18th century, but definitely there are proofs in the world, in the net, about Lord Byron, Napoleon, everyone. And going toward more recent days, Maria Callas, for example, the important singer. We had Madonna, we have Sting, we have Anthony Hopkins, Mel Gibson, Maradona, just to mention a few.
Maradona?
Yeah.
The hand of God. Did Anthony Hopkins, when he was Hannibal, is that the paper that he was writing on?
I truly believe that, but very important that these gentlemen and miladies became shoppers at Pineider by themselves, not for their business.
Exactly.
You know, their private stationery has been made by Pineider. There is a very interesting story, which is absolutely true. Liz Taylor, for her third wedding, decided to have the invitation card printed in the color of her eyes that were very, very peculiar.
The violet. Yes.
The violet. And only Pineider was able, after a back and forth, LA, Florence, we have been able, our, let's say, employees of those days have been able to find the right nuance and accomplish the mission.
That is, I would love to see that paper. That must have been beautiful.
In fact, we have one color of the Capri collection made in honor of Mrs. Liz Taylor. I will show you later.
Okay, perfect. I would love to see that. So I was telling you, in my past, I've always collected paper, and I have a friend, a very good friend, who used to live all over the world. And so one day she said to me, if you ever find airmail paper, that's the paper I love. And so I would go to flea markets and I'd find these little sets. And then today when I came in, I saw this beautiful collection, the Par Avion. Would you like to tell everybody about this collection that is new and old at the same time?
This collection is very new to us. In fact, today we are showcasing for the first time this new letters and notes collection made out of 55 grams per meter paper. Made on a light blue color, but in fact the origin of this paper is back in the 60s, when Pineider in those days was producing for actual and very useful use this paper in order to write and send letter overseas. Today we do not really expect young guys or old moms to write letters and send it by mail to Australia or to Canada from Italy or from France. But it's a very nice memory, and it's a very nice, hopefully, business opportunity when we talk about block notes.
Well, it's beautiful what you've done. So traditionally, airmail paper is incredibly lightweight. It's almost like tissue paper, very thin.
Yeah, correct.
Because historically, it was weighed. So when you'd send a letter, you wanted it as light as possible because it was expensive to send. And you've reproduced it with these lovely notebooks with the sets. But also what I love is everything that surrounds it. There are bags, passport holders in the leather that you were talking about as well, in the three colors, blue, a navy blue, and then what's the other blue?
No, is navy blue, is avio blue.
Ah,
And the red, obviously.
avio blue. That is in English they would call it airplane blue.
Or Air Force,
Or
maybe.
Air Force blue, right? Air Force blue. So, along with these beautiful notebooks and paper sets, there's also a whole collection and a line of. There's a beautiful, lovely leather tote bag. Everything that for someone that. I think that it's kind of the luxury of travel in essence. Or we were talking about this before we started recording that Pineider is a little bit different because it's not fashion, but it is fashion. But it's a unique kind of luxury brand. Do you want to say anything about that?
When we start to relaunch the brand, we try to understand which were the roots. Where the roots were. We're not in the fashion industry at all. We're in the luxury, in the exclusivity, craftsmanship, and the personalization. But suddenly we realized that all these words means fashion somehow today. And that's why a lot of important department stores or fashion stores now are inclined to introduce Pineider in their assortment, because being a craftsmanship, artisan, bespoke means somehow fashion in the today's world.
So all the paper then is handmade. Is that correct?
Paper is handmade. Paper is embossed by engraved plates that have been engraved manually by our artisans.
All in Italy.
All in Italy, all in Florence.
All in Florence.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's always been in Florence. That's incredible.
Everything is made in Florence.
That is incredible. I think that one of the things that I find fascinating about Pineider is that we're in a world where all our communication is done by our thumbs on our phones, and Pineider is still is evolving, but it's evolving, but it's staying true to being a paper company or a paper luxury paper utensils or writing. Sorry, let's call it a writing company. I think that would be the best way to describe it. How do you feel about that? Is now writing a luxury because everybody's so used to just having a cell phone? Is this letter making and the cult around writing a luxury?
Definitely, the trend is somehow inevitable. I think that the digitalization is a matter of fact. There's no doubt about it. So the market has been shrinking tremendously from let's say, in the last couple of decades. But today, there is a more recent trend in the last, I would say, 24, 36 months, that is we are observing a growth of calligraphers, of writing, of notes, of distribution of writing instruments, fountain pens, first of all. So, to make the long story short, now the market is much smaller, But to be very honest with you, the business opportunities are there. The slow moving trend, the life slash work balance is a matter of fact today. And taking the time of writing a letter or a simple with compliments card to a friend, to a lover, is something that is happening the more and more in the last few years.
That's, I think, one of the, I love receiving a card like that. And I do believe you're absolutely, I totally agree with you about calligraphy and this personalization. In fact, in Florence, I met a wonderful calligraphist named Betty Soldi. I don't know if you've ever had the chance to meet her, but she's based in Florence and does incredible work, all handwriting, and is so much fun because she makes the paper come alive and the letters come alive. I have a few questions. So you were saying that more and more places are having Pineider, a pop-up Pineider. I know you have 3 shops. Is that correct? You have Milan, Florence, and Rome. Is there anywhere else in the world where you can find Pineider?
Okay, first of all, let me say hi to Betty Solvi. She's a very good friend of me
Oh,
and a very good friend of us. We made several collaboration and more are coming. She has designed an amazing box I will show you later for a project called Ink Alchemy, which is a box full of inks where you can mix and match by drops the inks and creating your own nuance. Second, no, today we have only Rome and Florence. Milan is opening in February.
Oh,
It's going to open in February. It's a very big new opening. It's going to be a 3,000 square feet store, at 2,000 square feet of retail area and 1,000 wholesale in order to meet, retailers.
Okay.
It's upstairs. It's in a very unique location. The former La Feltrinelli bookstore is a few steps away from the Scala Theater and is in the very heart of the town.
You said on Via Manzoni, correct?
Correct, 12 Via Manzoni.
And is it going to have, is it going to be one of those stores that's just simply Pineider just simply selling the products, or will there be a cafe? Will there be the kind of place I could sit around and look at paper and maybe nibble something?
That's a very nice question, Erica. In fact, we are opening in February not really a store where we want to sell goods, but where we want to allow people to make experiences in terms of calligraphy, writing, smelling, and observing inks. There will be a cafe, definitely. The name of the cafe will be the Writers Club. So it will be a place with the tables and obviously a bar, a real actual bar where people can sip a drink or enjoy a cup of tea by trying our pens, blending inks in order to create its own exclusive nuance. So it's going to be a very nice experience.
This sounds like my dream. I feel like you made this just for me because this is everything that I would love. Testing out all of the inks, it sounds fantastic. So what about when you're not in Rome, you're not in Milan, you're not in Florence, where can you find Pineider?
Yeah, Pineider, actually the distribution of Pineider started only, I would say, a few months ago. Today, Pineider is already well distributed. To be very honest with you, not in huge size, but in very nice and prestigious locations. So you will find Pineider in Rinascente department store in Milan, Rome, Florence, and Turin. You find at Selfridges and Liberty in London, Bergdorf Goodman in New York, Isetan and Takashimaya in Tokyo, Beimen in Istanbul, Shingon Plaza in Beijing, and many other stores.
Can you do the bespoke as well in these other stores?
Yes, but via Florence. So basically, the store assistant can take note of the needs of the client, and everything is made in Florence and shipped from Florence to the clients.
One of my favorite things that I ever did was, I believe I had the blue on blue copy paper, and I had my name and my favorite symbol put on it. So that was my note card for many years, and it's one of my favorite pieces of paper that I own now. That I have 3 left. So I still will not use those cards because it has to be a very special person. Because I have a collection I was mentioning of paper. So I have many many different sets of Pineider that I use for different kinds of people. So a thank you note. Somebody that I really like will get a very special one. Somebody that I don't really like will just get a plain one. What is it about Italy that produces such beautiful heritage brands? What do you think it is about Italy or Italians that create these brands that are long-lasting, that are more than 2 centuries old?
I think that more important than the last 2 centuries are the last 2 millenniums that says a lot about our roots, our passion to history, and then our culture toward the beauty, the luxury. Since we were under the Greek domination or we had the Roman Empire, we have been always painting, sculpting the most beautiful gods, the most beautiful natural symbols. And so today we just live with this heritage in our chromosomes.
But let's talk a little bit. The last thing I wanted to ask you, which should probably be the first thing, is how many different kinds of paper does Pineider have? How many different kinds of sets? Because I saw the Paravion, I see the Milano, I see Vaticano.
Yeah, so I can name it. So we have Capri with several nuances of colors. We have Milano, we have Florence, we have Vaticano. We have Empress, which is the most female line we have. I will show you later. And we have now Paravion.
What does Empress? How is it female? Out of curiosity,
is the shape of the envelope that you can see there. Oh, I'm sorry, your.
I have that too.
Yeah, this
I have
is
it with
Empress. Oh, fantastic. This is the best and most female and became the trademark of our ladies' leather line.
I see how the design carried through the design.
Yeah.
So the envelope is like this flourish.
Yeah.
So if I were to write you a thank you note for this lovely conversation,
Yeah.
which paper should I use?
I would say that you're talking about symbols. Your name is becoming not your specific. I mean, the name of people might be a bit too obvious. Now there is something more representing your soul, your heart. So today, for example, you can see we have several collection of 8 cards. 8 cards means a box where you have 8 cards and 4 different symbols: insects, butterflies, fishes, or horoscope. For example, you're a lion or a Virgo or a Libra.
Gemini.
Exactly. And so you have your own business, your own thank you or with compliments card the symbol that mostly represents you.
Well, I'm going to go look at the insects because those are symbols that represent me. So thank you so much. I had a wonderful time speaking with you, and I cannot wait to come and sit at the Writers Club and come to Milan to see this new store.
You're always welcome, Erika. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ciao Bella. If you'd like to know more about today's guest, please visit ciaobella.co and click on the podcast link, or go directly to ciaobella.co/podcast. Want more Italy? You can find all my episodes on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher. When you have time, subscribe to iTunes and rate the podcast. What are you waiting for? And if you want to be part of the podcast, email me or DM me your Italy questions. To learn more about me and my work, go to my website, ericafirpo.com, and follow my Italy adventures on Instagram at ericafirpo. Ciao, Bella! And a very big thank you and hug to Massimiliano Yonta and Disc to Disc Studios, the producers of Ciao Bella, who continue to make me sound and feel great.